This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Hey, folks, how are you all doing? It is Thinbad and the Chief.
Hey.
And Ambezy is around doing her thing. You'll hear more about Ambezy a little later.
Yes, sir.
In the show. How about that? Does that sound good? So tonight we're going to talk about something. All you all know that song that was a hit some years ago. You hear it playing in the background now. Mike, don't sing now, Chief. Don't sing. But so there's been this myth of the Superwoman. You know, that black women have to be, Superwoman, do everything, take care of everybody, do everything all the time, take care of everyone else but themselves, always have to be tough, always have to be the one handling all the business. But the question we ask is the myth of the Superwoman, is it a blessing or a curse? And does it have health implications? So we've got a guest tonight that's going to talk to us a little bit about that. And we're going to listen. I'm sure there are folks out there who are going to have comments and have things to say with regard to this particular issue, because I think it's something that we need to talk about. It's overdue. People have suffered from this. You've got there are a lot of misconceptions with regard to health and black women's health, and how this idea of being a superwoman, or the attitude of trying to be able to project that all the time, to be able to be everything to everybody, causes you to kind of lose out on what it is that you need to be doing to take care of yourself. So we've got Ms. Vernell Mitchell. She is with us. She is a center manager for a PACE program here in North Carolina. I believe in North Carolina. Am I right?
You're absolutely correct.
All right, good. And she's done some research on the particular issue that we're talking about, in terms of how this I keep saying myth. I mean, maybe I'll come up with a better word by the end of it, but that this myth is creating some negative health consequences for some of our black sisters out there. I was looking around as I was doing some of the research, trying to hear some things, and I want to play a couple of clips. One from Imayan Ibanga on AJ Plus. She's got a YouTube channel where she talks about the issue. So I want to play a clip, play a couple of clips there, and then on the other side of that, Vernell will let you come in and see what she can say to enlighten us and how we can help folks out that folks are not feeling by themselves.
The thought of always being seen as strong and resilient may seem complimentary, but the Superwoman ideal has some substantial negative effects on Black women's health. It's so impactful that psychiatric nurse Cheryl Giscombe has spent the last 15 years studying the psychological stress and health of Black women. She's developed what she calls the Black Superwoman schema and says there are 5 characteristics of the Black Superwoman.
One is a perceived obligation to present an image of strength. The second is a perceived obligation to suppress emotions. The third is resistance to vulnerability or dependence on help from others. The fourth is a motivation to succeed despite limited resources. And the fifth is prioritization of caregiving or providing care to others, in contrast to balancing that with self-care.
Gascombe says these factors are very likely impacting Black women's health in ways that aren't really being considered or widely researched.
So we hear some of the, and again, we want to thank Imani Banga and AJ Plus for that piece where we kind of lay this out. Those are, you heard 5 points kind of laid out there as to what some of the potential health problems could move from that particular persona being this superwoman. So, Vernell, go ahead and give us the benefit of some of the stuff that you've been researching and looking at and what you found with regard to that particular issue. First of all, welcome to the show, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you so very much.
It's welcomes.
I appreciate being able to be a part of the show. To be quite honest with you, the first real experience that I had, with the perception of what Black women and just Black people in general, but in particular Black women, was in a class that I was having in my undergraduate studies. Okay. It was actually anatomy and a physiology class, and a couple of students afterwards were talking to the professor, and he said something that has not left me, and this was in 2006. And what he says was, in all of the books and all of the training that he had, it was perceived that the Black women were promiscuous, and in the books that he studied, yes, the professor actually said that. And he said that in the books, it was always being educated, the physicians that were being educated were educated on the fact that Black women were more promiscuous. And so when they came into the healthcare setting, you should know that already, and that was a part of the effects of how they received treatment. And so my question was, well, where did they get their information and their data from? And they said in the health departments. And I said, well, what about, people who were in private practice? Was that information given to as part of data? And they said they had no idea. So I said, well, how did you get that data? I mean, where is that perception coming from?
Right. So
I was in another sociology class, and they said the exact same thing. They were saying Black people, and in particular Black women, were more promiscuous, and so they were more susceptible to sexually transmitted diseases. So when I asked the professor, where did you get your information from? She really couldn't even tell me where she got her information from. So I said, well, if you go do research in the health department, many of the people that have to access the health department are not just Black people. It is Caucasian people as well. So if white people who are in private practice and have private insurance, how do you know that they are not more susceptible to sexual transmitted diseases? And she couldn't answer me. So I've been on that kick ever since. And so in the research that I'm doing, I'm finding that more white women are susceptible to sexually transmitted diseases, but it's not reported because it doesn't have to be reported from private practice. Health departments have to report that information, but private practices don't have to report that information. So if socially, economically, Black people are accessing the health department, that information is being reported, but it doesn't truly reflect what is really going on. And so I was just devastated at that fact, that doctors are being taught that Black people, Black women in particularly, are more adverse to sexually transmitted disease. So that started me thinking about, well, what other healthcare aspects are associated with Black people as opposed to white people. And it's just really astounding, the information that I'm receiving.
Wow. So after the professor got up from the floor, because I'm sure somebody slapped him.
Indeed.
I can't believe that.
Nobody said a word because at the time I was the only Black person in the group.
I don't even want to know. We can find out later who the professor was. Are they still teaching? Can we straighten them out? I mean, I want you to come back with the research that you have and go back to that class and say, look here, sir, or madam. I'm assuming I just went ahead and assumed it was a male because only a man can say something that's stupid.
Was it a man?
It actually was a man.
See,
but I have to give it up to him because he was willing to tell the story that nobody else is willing to tell. Yeah. But
so he was saying this is what was presented. He wasn't saying that himself. That's not what he was. He didn't believe that. He was just conveying. Okay. I feel better now.
Yes, he wasn't believing that himself. He was trying to tell me.
Okay, good.
No, he was trying to tell me this is how they're taught.
Okay.
So when as Black women, when we go into these offices and for whatever healthcare disparity, whatever healthcare issue that we have, they already have a preconceived notion of us. They sometimes in the research that I'm doing, they don't even realize that that's what's happening. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So the research that you're doing, are you just kind of researching? Is there a particular question that you're looking to answer with the research, or are you just trying to refute some of the things that you just mentioned? Because of the fact that you ran into so many people who just had this notion with no data to back it up. Are you looking? Because that what you mentioned is something that is the kind of thing that's out there, but we don't think about the fact that the private practice doesn't have to report the same way that these community health type situations, these clinics and things like that have to report. So that would create a skewed look. And I guess if everybody you're seeing coming in is looking, a particular way, and they're dealing with the same issues. They're not dealing with the issues at any greater rate than anyone else. It's just that it's being reported at a much higher rate than other folks. That's crazy.
So really, I was really trying to refute that this was really what was happening.
Gotcha.
But in my current profession, in my PACE program, it's like a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. And so I was originally hired as a memory care coordinator, which means I deal primarily with people with dementia. So that's a whole nother topic in itself compared to what Black people are going through when it comes to taking care of our people with dementia. So in one of my meetings, I had a Caucasian provider, and we were talking about a particular participant and what we needed to do to take care of this participant. And the participant happened to be not Black, but she was Hispanic. So she said she was making several racial comments as like, well, we were talking about her diet and she had some wounds. We were talking about any supplements that she may need. And what she said was, this was a white female physician. She said, well, all they eat is rice. So we need to, to get them some supplements. And I happened to have a Hispanic social worker, and she said, well, they're Mexican and they always eat rice. Well, the lady wasn't Mexican. She was from Colombia. So our social worker had to speak up and say, she's from Colombia. And I looked at our provider, and she really had no idea that there was a difference. And so I started thinking, well, if she has no idea there's a difference in Hispanics and the culture and where they where they originated from, she surely doesn't have an idea about African American people.